I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be, why is she so flaky? Well, let's take a closer look. I got 3 different emails that I'm going to go through from 3 different viewers. But before we get into the first one, I got a quote that I wrote on this particular topic, because lately I've been getting a lot of emails asking this same kind of question on this particular topic. And so the quote says, people who are emotionally messed up, afraid of commitment, or who have self-esteem issues will often display signs of high attraction and interest in you. They may even push for a commitment and ask to spend time with you, only to flake out on you at the last minute. This behavior will be exacerbated and only made worse if you have previously made a lot of mistakes, acted needy and desperate, and said and done things to hurt them emotionally. In other words, if you finally fix your bad habits and bad behaviors, they may have become too emotionally anchored to the negative way you used to be to get past, believe, and accept the way you are now. If you have negatively emotionally anchored a present or former lover to the way you used to be, who also happens to be a bit of a Fruit Loop and messed up emotionally themselves, it will be almost impossible to have any kind of healthy or effortless relationship with them. In that case, it is best to move on and start fresh with someone who does not know you, so you can do everything right from the beginning. I've definitely had some experience with this. It's like a lot of the people, I'd say at least half the people that watch my videos, men and women both, are coming to me because they're trying to get an ex back, or a relationship broke up and they're trying to figure out what the fuck just happened, how to potentially repair it. And when you start applying the things that I teach and taking corrective action and changing your bad behaviors and overcoming your weaknesses and your insecurities and your personal fears and your doubts about yourself and what you're actually capable of accomplishing and having in your life, especially if you've made lots of errors and things. I mean, that's what I personally found out in my own journey with one of the women I wrote about in my book that I had a lot of problems with, that I dated for about 3 years. And it's like the first year and a half, it was just this back and forth of pursuing too much and then not pursuing enough and then coming off as like a cold fish or just a dick to her. And so once I finally got that balance right, we had this whole year and a half of my own personal bad behavior, my needy habits, my desperate habits, and then also swinging back the other way of basically becoming too cold and disinterested to the point where she literally felt like I didn't give a flying fuck about her, which obviously was not the case. And so you can imagine women are emotional beings, and so they tend to be a lot more sensitive about these things. And so I literally had a year and a half where I anchored her to all the negative ways that I used to be. And where that created problems, like even once I got things going great for that last year that we were together, once I got things going really well, then what would anytime there was a problem, anytime something came up, and this was also for me as well, is the first thing you think of is all the negative emotions and the hurt and the pain that we had experienced in the past together, things that we had both done that were mean and spiteful and hurtful to one another. And so when you've been through that kind of an ordeal with somebody and then things are great for a while, you're always going to have that fear that things are going to go back to the way they were. And that was one of the reasons why she and I never, even though we were friends for many years after we split up, that's why we never actually dated after that. And even there were many times when we were just make plans. She would call me to make plans to hang out. It was her idea. She wanted to get together, wanted to go to dinner, or wanted to come by and hang out for lunch or whatever. And like I said, there was nothing really physical going on at that point between us. But I'd make plans at her request, and then like a day before we were supposed to get together, I'd get a phone message or a text, hey, or an email, hey, I got to take a rain check on that. But I'd definitely love to see you again in the future. And then a week or 2 later, she called me, same shit. And eventually I just got to the point where I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. I just didn't want to deal with that kind of flakiness and that kind of BS, because obviously we still loved each other and we still cared about one another and we still had deep feelings for one another. But just hanging out together as just friends, it was really hard for the two of us just because of all the things that had happened in the past. And it just pissed me off that we'd make plans and then she would just bail out. And obviously on her end, she'd be thinking, because sometimes if I was dating or I was in a relationship, one of the girls I dated after her when I was in a relationship with her, I could definitely tell that she wanted to get back. She even would mention things like that about the two of us getting back together at some point. But I could also tell that there was a lot of real fears around that, fears that things wouldn't work out, and it affected her behavior because she was still, because we were both growing up together. We were both overcoming our insecurities, our fears, and our doubts, and I had overcome all, because I was studying and working on this area, I had overcome all the shit that I had, all the baggage that I had, and all that needy, desperate type behavior. But she still was in the process of overcoming those things, and it really affected her behavior in a negative way. And so I see this a lot, and it's like if you're watching this and you're in one of these situations with somebody that you came to me and you found out about my work because you're trying to put things back together, and you're at the place where you kind of feel like you got things going real well, but then things seem to go sideways and they go really off the rails really quick, it's just really hard to turn those situations around to the point where they're really healthy. And most of the time, from my personal experience, even when the guys or the women get back the people that they're trying to get back to when they first come back to me, long term they don't usually stay together. And I've just personally found that everybody that comes in your life for a reason. And when something dissolves and doesn't work out, it's because it's supposed to be that way. And this one particular woman that I wrote about in my book, the relationship that I had after that, after I had figured all this stuff out, it was completely effortless. We never fought. We never argued. Everything was just total ease and delightful. Just the whole time that we were together. Even to this day, all these years later, she and I are still really good friends to this day. And it's just wonderful to have those kinds of experiences without all that fucking negativity and all those problems and all that drama that I had experienced in that previous relationship and every relationship with every woman that I had really liked that I had screwed up with before, which I also wrote about in my book. So let's go ahead and jump into the first guy's email. And this particular guy, I think I've had a couple phone sessions with him. So he says, "Hey Coach, I've read your book a few times now, and I'm totally on point with meeting new women. And I got another number this week, and so kudos to you for the awesome material. I've still got this situation going on in my head with my ex, and to remind you, we broke up mutually as I was acting like a dickhead 18 months ago. Apart from 2 months, we had been in contact like a monthly, hey, how are you, bullshit type of text. We'd meet up a few times and had a blast. Then I told her I couldn't be friends as I still had feelings, which she claimed to be super shocked by and confused. I stupidly spilled my guts and made her mad, pushing her for an answer to resolving things or having a friendship. And she wanted to meet up and start the start of this year and canceled a couple of times to discuss what I was saying. And again, we had a blast. We had fun as we always do. And this time around, I didn't mention getting back, and I just had fun, and I said I wasn't into friendship. He says, I maintain that I don't want to be friends over text, and I've never texted her for the last 4 months, and I'm not going to either. Because at the end of the day, if you're the one that gets dumped, it doesn't serve you to constantly reach out and change that other person's mind. The strongest negotiating position is being able to walk away and mean it. And when you want to continue working at perfecting your relationship and improving things, and the other person's putting her hand up and saying, hey, uncle, I'm fucking out of here. I'm pulling the ripcord. See you later, Jack. There's nothing you can do. It takes two people who want to be together, who want to make the effort. And when the other person says, I'm not going to make the effort, the only thing you can do is let them go and say, hey, give me a call if you change your mind. And you move on with your life as if you're never going to talk to them again. As if they are completely part of your past. And they're not part of your present. And they're certainly not part of your future. And if there's any kind of attraction left, if there's any kind of interest, especially if there's another dude in the picture, if things don't work out and you've left the door open that way, then they'll get in contact. And that's usually, hey, how are you? What are you doing? How you been? That's typically the type of text or message that you'll get from them. When it's a woman contacting a guy, 99.9% of the time they're not going to text you and say, hey, I want to see you, I want to get together. They won't do things like that. It's like a little girl going over, running down to where the water is crashing up in the beach in the ocean and sticking her toe in the water and then running away as soon as a wave comes up on the beach. It's kind of like the way they are. They don't. It's the man's job to be direct, decisive, and make a date happen. But if she's reaching out, you assume it's because she wants to see you, and you're direct and you get right to the point. And what you don't do is you don't go and meet them out and you don't do anything like that because they dumped you. You wanted to work things out and they blew you off. They threw you out like the trash. Therefore, they have to work to earn you back. And so when they do reach out, all you're going to say is, hey, it's great to hear from you. I'd love to see you. When are you free to get together? Great. Why don't you grab a bottle of wine, or why don't you, bring some tea or some coffee over, or some soup or some dinner or some vegetables, and we can grill out some stuff in the grill, and I've got some fish and I got some chicken or whatever. I got some steaks, whatever it happens to be that you're going to eat. And if she says, well, why don't we meet out for drinks, or why don't we meet out for coffee? And then your response is going to be to that is because you don't want to do that. You're going to say, I'm just in the mood to hang. I'm really not into doing something all formal. So if you don't want to come over to my house and make dinner, then give me a call in 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe we can do something then when my schedule kind of settles down. And if, say, a week or two goes by and she reaches out again and you try to make plans and she says, well, let's meet out at this bar, or let's go have dinner at such and such place. Just say, no, you keep giving her the same response. She's either going to come over to your house and make dinner and do what it is that you want to do, or you're simply not interested. She's going to realize that. You're not going out of your way. The time to work things out in your mind has already passed. But however, you're being a nice guy and give her the chance. If she wants to talk to you, if she wants to see you, you can come on over to my place and we'll make dinner together. And that's what I ended up doing with this one particular woman that I was talking about earlier in the video. I just got to the point where I was like, hey, why don't you come on over and we'll make dinner and we'll make love together. And she didn't give me an answer right there on the spot. It was like 2 days later she finally called. She called me because she wanted to think about it. I was like, sure, take your time. And I was cool either way. Didn't matter to me because I wasn't fucking going anywhere. If she wanted to see me, she's going to come to my house. I mean, she'd already been to my house hundreds of times before over the year and a half that we've been dating. But it was going to be on my terms. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And she was the one that kicked me to the curb. She was the one that ended things and ran away because she was a little emotionally messed up still at the time. That's all you can do at that point. So she, without hesitation, made plans, came over. We had a great dinner together. And we made love. It was wonderful. It was a great experience. And that was one of the pillars, if you will, of what I learned of the best way to handle getting somebody back that you screwed up with. I wasn't willing to compromise. I was not going to go out of my way. I'd already taken it. We'd already gone to dinner hundreds of times. We'd already hung out hundreds of times in the past. She didn't want to work it out anymore. She just gave up and ran away. It's like, why should I go out of my way to be with her? If she wants to rekindle things or get another shot, she's got to come over to my place. And that's the attitude. You maintain that. Either she comes to your place or you're not interested. It's like, what's the fucking point? He says, I get the same hi, how are you, what's new, lame type of text a couple months ago, and I just say hi back, and she says, hi, pumpkin. He says, I don't use all those words myself, by the way. Well, I'm always sweet and endearing. I'm like, hey, sweetie, hey, honey, hey, baby, how are you? Great to hear from you. I miss you. I want to see you. When are you free to get together? I'm always like that. He says, how are you? We should meet for a drink soon if you're free. And this is what she sent him in text. So she literally actually asked him out this particular time. And another thing is that when you've asked somebody twice, when they're contacting you and they're initiating contact after they dumped you, you're going to ask on 2 separate occasions to get together. And if they turn you down both times and don't want to come over to your place, then you're going to stop asking. You won't ever ask again, and one of 2 things will happen. They'll either bring up, just like this one particular woman did, meeting up for a drink soon, or they'll stop calling you. So you'll either get them back or they'll disappear one way or another. He says, I say, sure, be glad, good to see you. When are you free? And she says 2 weeks on Friday. And I said, sure, grab some drinks and come on over to my place on that particular date. And then she says, sure. And I said, I'll make dinner. And I say, yes, and I'll cook something cool and I'll see her then. Now listen to what he says. He says, now, since I didn't text as following your book, and she didn't text me on the day to arrange what time, well, that's part of your problem. That's part of your job as a man, is to be direct, decisive, and have a definite day, a definite time, and a definite place to get together. So you didn't actually set a definite date. You, in essence, just said, hey, why don't we get together on Friday? That's one of those types of dates where, hey, I'll call you to confirm type of nonsense. When a woman does that, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to call and confirm, and they're going to flake on you. So that's part of where you're fucking up. You're not completely following what I teach in my book, even though you think you are. This is what happens when you don't read the book 10 to 15 times. He says, did I mess up not nailing down a time? Yes. Or should she have come to me and asked? It's your job as the man to nail down all the details and not leave anything to chance. Or is she just messing with my head and testing me to see if I'm a weak idiot who will still chase her? Well, part of the problem is you were vague and indecisive by not setting a time. And you may think it's a little subtle, innocuous thing and it doesn't mean shit. It means something huge. Think about it. If you go to make a doctor's appointment, you don't go, I'll come by maybe Thursday or Friday. It doesn't work that way. They're like, you're going to come in at 10, 10:30, 11, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And what happens when you get there? There's like fucking 15 other people waiting. Why? Because usually there's certain people that just don't show up to their appointments. But the bottom line is a doctor is always going to be seeing people. If you're in business or you're in sales, you don't go, let's get together next week sometime. You're like, well, great. What's a good time for you? Hey, I want to come down and look at some of those new cars that you guys got. Great. When's a good time for you to come on in? What's convenient for you? Tomorrow, 2 o'clock? That sounds great. I'll be here then. Here, let me give you my cell phone in case something comes up and you can give me a call. That's what salespeople do, and you need to treat your dates the same way. Because if you don't, it's like, it's like fishing without a fishing hook, or without having that little barb that keeps the fish from wiggling off your hook. He says she has moved state and has zero need to contact me. So I told her I can't be friends, and she comes back and asks me to meet, then is flaky. So why is she so flaky? Well, it sounds like you really don't know the book. You're not direct. You're not decisive. You don't get right to the point and make a definite date. You're leaving it up in the air. You're being vague. That's feminine energy. That's what women do. It's your job to nail her down to a specific day and time. And if she won't do that, if she says, well, I got Friday, but I'm not really sure of my schedule, then say, great. Well, when you figure out your schedule, get in touch with me. And you just let it go. She'll either get in touch or she won't. He says every time we arrange to hang out, 50% she cancels or doesn't follow through. Why does she ask to hang out? Well, it could be that she's totally emotionally messed up, but it's obvious that you're not setting proper, definite dates. That's the problem right there, is not setting definite dates. And plus, you've had all that bad time, that bad experience with her, like I talked about in the quote that I shared. He says, I guarantee if I made a move, she would run a mile. I haven't texted her once this whole year. She has every time, and then she isn't following through on the plans. Well, you've already given up. Well, if I go to make a move on her, she's not going to want anything to do with it. So why meet her then? I mean, you've already given up. You're already defeated. You've already lost. She's not even coming over to your house yet, and you've already decided ahead of time you're out of the picture. You don't have a chance. You're stuck in friend zone. You can't be successful with that kind of attitude. Think about it. If you were successful with women and you were used to hanging out, having fun, and hooking up with the kind of women that you want, and when a woman comes over to your house who likes you, it always ends with in a successful conclusion in the bedroom. Where's the James Bond confidence? It's totally lacking. And if you're unsure that things are going to work out, she can sense that. She can feel your lack of confidence. She can feel your lack of strength and your lack of certainty. You're not going to be successful at that. Women want your strength. I mean, think about it. Can you penetrate a woman sexually if you don't have a boner? Nope. So it's like, look what's going on here and how your words and your deeds are showing up. You're flaky and you're kind of all over the ice. You're acting like a guy who doesn't think he's going to be successful anyways. And look what's happening. She's flaking on you. He says, so next time she asks, I'm obviously going to not mention the last time and say come on over at X time and X day and then not text her on the day to confirm as your book states. Correct. If you've made a definite date, there's no reason. And the proper way to make a definite date is you say, great, 8 o'clock Thursday night? Awesome. If something comes up, I'll call you, or vice versa. Otherwise, I'll just see you Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Is that cool with you? Great. Awesome. I'll see you at 8 o'clock, honey. I got to run. I'll see you then. And that's it. That's a definite date. And you got to say it in those words, and I go over that in my book. And if you haven't read the book 10 to 15 times, I can tell you haven't because of what you're phrasing in your email here. He says, and then try to seduce her, or should I just text her and say, great to hear from you. If you want to hang out as more than friends, give me a call. I'm not interested in friendship. You don't need to keep reiterating that over and over, dude. You've already told her once, and if she reaches out after that, assume she wants to see you and make a date, hang out, have fun, hook up. He says she will maintain. Is she still confused if I made a move? So my plan is to make definite plans and then make a move. And once she backs away, tell her again, I don't want to be friends, and walk away and never look back? Or do you think she just wants friends even though I keep saying I don't? Again, part of the problem is you're not direct and you're not decisive, and you certainly don't sound like you're confident or even know what to do. These are basic things that I teach in my book. And I've been coaching you for a while. You're not learning the fundamentals. I say read the book 10 to 15 times. There's a reason for that. And that's why you're fucking up. You don't know it. You don't know the material. And therefore, when she reaches out to you, which is the whole reason why you came to me, was to get her back, you're not following through. You're not handling things properly. So, I mean, that's what I would do if I were you. It's pretty cut and dry, but like I said, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you don't know what to do. You don't know the book. You don't know the material. So let's get into the second email. This guy says, hey, Coach, you're a godsend. Since I've been watching your videos, my life is slowly changing for the better. I've read your book twice, so 13 more times to go. My question, I've read this book, Love and Respect, from Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. I don't know if I said that right. And one of the chapters says that the wife wants to hear the words, I am sorry, from the husband when her feelings have been hurt. But you and other dating experts suggest that it is not a good idea to apologize to a woman. What? Where the fuck did... You haven't read my book, dude. It's like you say you read it 2 times. Where in my book do I say not to apologize to a woman? If you did something wrong, you absolutely need to apologize for what you did wrong. A woman who knows how to communicate is going to say, honey, when you did this, or when you didn't buy me flowers for my birthday, or when you forgot my birthday, or you forgot our anniversary, I was so steamed to you. It's like, God, it made me so mad. It made me feel like you didn't care about me. You didn't love me. And I want you to show it. I shouldn't have to remind you of those special days and those special events in our relationship. And your response says, you're right, honey. You know what? That was really rude and selfish of me, and I could have written something down on a calendar and had a special note. And yeah, I could totally understand that if my actions don't match my words, if I tell you I love you all the time, but when your birthday comes up and I forget about it, or our anniversary comes up and I totally forgot that we had our anniversary, it's like, you know, I'm really sorry. I'm going to make that up to you. And I'm sorry that I hurt you that way. And I'm sorry that I didn't make you feel loved and I didn't make you feel special. And, you know, I'm going to make it up to you. Thursday night, we're going to go out and we're going to have a great fucking time together. I'm going to take you to a really cool place. And where are we going to go? It's none of your business. Get your little ass over here and kiss me. Then you kiss and you make love right then and there on the spot. That's what she wants to hear. If you fucked up, you need to apologize for it. He says, or is it different once you are married and in a committed relationship? What is the balance if, on apologies, a sweet spot? Well, like I said, if you fuck up, you need to admit that you fucked up and apologize and communicate to her, like I talk about in my book and in the video, How to Communicate with Women Effectively. You've got to be able to get through to a woman and get her to understand that you know what you did to hurt her and why it hurt her and why it's not going to happen again. Like I said, I go in extensive detail on that in my book, and so that tells me you just kind of glossed over it. You really haven't been, you only read it twice. That's part of the problem. That's why I say 10 to 15 times, because there's so many little things that are so important in a relationship. And if you don't understand pickup skills, if you don't understand dating skills, if you don't understand relationship skills, you're missing huge critical key components to maintaining a healthy relationship that's free of nagging and arguments and drama. So let's get to the third and final email, and this one is from a woman. And she says, Dear Corey, thank you so much for your videos. I, as a woman, have learned a lot from them, like the science of attraction. And yes, what works on women works on guys too. Absolutely. What I teach is human behavior. And whether you're a man or a woman watching this, once you understand that, we all can understand each other and communicate with one another and meet each other's needs much more effectively that way. And she continues on in what it means to be a person of high value, and I'm really grateful for that. I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, can a woman approach guys in a way that she doesn't look like she has an agenda or is desperate? Can she initiate conversation, and how? Well, one of the things that I've noticed is that women that are younger tend to be a lot more timid and shy when it comes to talking to guys. Usually they're really vague. They just put themselves in a guy's orbit and they wait for a guy to do everything. Now, most women, when they get to be in their 30s, they get a lot more aggressive and they know what they want. They've been around the block a few times. They've gotten their heart broken a few times, and they've gotten over getting their heart broken a few times. And they have no problem going right up to a guy and telling him what they think of him, or they think he's really handsome, or they think he's really interested, or saying, hey, here, my name's Susan, here's my number, give me a call. I think you're really hot. And that's really refreshing. It's nice. It's nice to have, but it typically happens when a woman gets older. Usually when she gets into her 30s, she starts to do those things. So absolutely, if you see a guy that you like, go right up and tell him what you think. Tell him you think he's really hot, or you think he's got nice eyes or whatever, and say, I'm going to run, but here's my phone number. You should give me a call sometime so we can go out. And that's it. It's like you put an invitation out there, and if he likes you, he'll get in touch. And if he doesn't, whatever. At least you did your part. Instead of just sitting around waiting for a man to do everything, you can participate. But at the end of the day, you want a man who's going to be the leader and knows what to do when you give him a phone number. Number 2, she says, I'm a little worried with the advices I read from different coaches. I naturally read advices for women from female and male coaches, and they all advise women to let a guy do the chasing, i.e. let him initiate calling and texting and asking out, or else he will lose interest. I absolutely agree with that in the beginning. Usually the first 1 to 3 dates on average is what typically a guy is going to do, because when a woman feels comfortable, when she feels safe and comfortable enough with a guy, and it usually happens after she slept with him, and most women are going to sleep with a guy by the 2nd or 3rd date. That's what I've experienced in my own life, and that historically is also how the numbers play out as well. And so once that happens, feminine energy is all about bonding and connecting. And usually what women will typically do, which I think is beautiful and it's awesome, it makes it really easy for a guy who understands these things and understands what I teach. As a woman's attraction level grows and her interest grows in him, and she continues to feel more safe and more comfortable, she's going to want more of his attention. And what she typically does is she reaches out and just says, hey, I had a really great time the other night. Can't wait to see you again. That's all a woman has to do. Or, hey, I had a really great time the other night. Just wanted you to know that. Really, thanks for taking me to a great dinner, and the lovemaking was just spectacular after that. I look forward to the next. That's all you have to say. And if a guy wants to get together, he'll call you back, he'll text you back, he'll say, I'd look forward to that too. When are you free to get together? I'd love to see you. And he'll make plans. Guys that know what they're fucking doing, they'll make plans. Guys that have a high level of interest will make plans. The worst thing you can do, though, whether you're a man or a woman, is when the calling or the texting or the contact is not in the context of reaching out just to show your appreciation or to invite them out for a date, or if you're a woman, to let them express that you're open to it, is to start reaching out to find out where you stand, to find out if you just had great, crazy, passionate, dirty, sweaty sex 2 nights ago, do they still care about you? Because then you're looking not so much to bond and connect and give unconditionally. What you're doing is you're looking for the other person to validate you and make you feel good about yourself. That's the huge, subtle difference that makes the difference from that perspective. Because when you reach out, and you're not reaching out to give a gift of appreciation or give a gift of love or just to say thank you or to invite them out for another date, when you're doing it because you feel like you've got to have this person in your life to make you feel good about yourself, they're going to feel it. And that's going to cause the other person to feel like they're losing their freedom. Remember that Thich-Nhat, I can't even think of his name. I say it all the time. You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. And it's so important to maintain that. When anybody, man or woman, starts to act needy, desperate, controlling in any way, you start to feel like, ooh, it just makes you feel weird that this person is going to try to force you or to guilt you into spending more time with them. And man or woman, anytime a member of the opposite sex does that, you're going to haul ass. And so she continues on, and it's true from my own experience, whenever I put as much effort as a guy does into texting and calling, something I thought he might want or expect, he usually lost interest in me. Well, the key is to look at the actions, to look at what is being reciprocated, because the biggest thing that all of us are guilty of, men and women, is projecting our desires and our attraction onto the other person and not giving them the space to choose us of their own free will. Phone calls, texts, messages, things that we say and do are all centered around manipulating that other person, finding out if they still care, even though we might have just spent the previous night together and had great sex. It just gets old, because in essence what you're constantly communicating through your actions and your words and the tone of your voice is, I don't think I deserve you, and I know it's just a matter of time before you blow me off and find somebody better. So I'm trying to prevent that as much as possible, because it's inevitable. I know once you really get to know me, you're not going to like me, because this is what always happens. And we can sense that, and we can feel that, and it's a turnoff for both men and women. She says, so I wonder how that works with your advice of letting women do the chasing. Again, monitoring what his actions are. Not projecting your high attraction level onto him and assuming he feels the same way, but noticing if you are reaching out to him and just saying, hey, you had a great time, is he asking you out? And if he doesn't ask you out when you've reached out to him, let him be. Just let it go and wait to hear from him. You got to think of it like a game of tennis. That's an analogy I use all the time, and it's so powerful. Once you hit that ball over the net, you absolutely must wait for the other person to hit it back. Relationships take the participation, the willful participation of both people. A game of tennis, the ball goes back and forth. The worst thing you do is hit the ball over, and when that person doesn't hit it back in the time frame that you expect, running over the other side of the net, hitting it back to yourself, or hitting another serve to them. It's like if you've ever seen those ball machines that you use to practice, where you dump a big basket of tennis balls in it and it just uses air to shoot the balls over the net. It's like you turn that thing on full blast, it's like a machine gun. You nail the other person with enough tennis balls in the court, they're going to fucking leave the tennis court. It's obnoxious. It's neurotic, desperate behavior. She says, I'm sure guys that you advise will get the woman they want with your advice, but will they remain interested in these women if in the end the women did the chasing? Remember, it's a balanced chasing, because a woman who has a high self-esteem, who really loves herself, who respects herself, is not going to continue to call a guy who's blowing her off and not taking her out. She's going to reach out to him, but she's also going to make sure that he's reciprocating, that he's actually taking the action that he should be taking that will communicate that he actually cares about her. So when a woman over pursues, absolutely it's going to turn a guy off, just like when a guy over pursues, it's going to turn the woman off. Will they be valuing these women or love their new power and move to the next woman? Well, they'll stick around as long as there's a balance there, as long as a woman has confidence, as long as she has self-respect. Because if she leaves a message, she's going to wait for the guy to get back. She's not going to send 10 fucking messages going, how come you haven't gotten back to me? Is there something wrong? Is there somebody else? They're not going to do those kinds of things. Remember, it's all about maintaining the freedom of the other person, letting them know that you care and you want to see them, but making sure they make the effort to get together with you. For a guy, when you're reaching out, that she's agreeable to make plans with you and actually does make definite plans and makes herself available to you. But if she says, I don't know, I'm unsure, I don't know what my schedule's like, telling her just say, great, well, when you figure it out, give me a call. And giving her the space to do that. Because most guys that don't know any better, they don't hear from her for 3 or 4 days. They call her again. And then that's all it takes for her to get turned off. It's the same thing for a woman. If you call a guy and say, I'd really love to see you again, and you talk for a couple of minutes, and he doesn't say, yeah, I'd really love to see you too. We got to get together. When are you free? That shows a lack of enthusiasm. A woman who loves herself and respects herself says, well, hey, I just wanted to call and tell you that, so when you want to get together, give me a call sometime. And that's it. And she waits to hear from the guy. Because she reached out to him, she extended the invitation, but it's like he's not hitting the ball back over the net. And because she loves herself and she respects herself, she's not going to sit around and wait on him, because she knows there's 10 other horny dudes that would love to go out with her. It's real important to maintain that particular balance. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.